Our feature speaker today is Ed Kemper. He occupies the legal attorney general practice seat in our chapter. Ed has been in the business for 52 years and has lived in Hawaii for 53 years with his wife, Jolene. He also has two children, Kevin and Kristen Calais. In addition to practicing law, Ed has been the primary host of Island Driver TV on OC 16 since 2002, with over 2,000 episodes under his belt. Ed has also served as an auto critic for the Honolulu Star Bulletin, testing, writing about cars, trucks, and SUVs. He enjoys running and everything to do with cars, including racing them. He has raced a variety of sports and race cars with the local Hawaii region of the Sports Car Club of America. Something no one knows about him is that while he loves to run, he has never done a full or half marathon, yet he still keeps asking me to fix his time for the marathon. So I don't understand that one. His burning desire is to race on a road course again. And I understand there was a meeting last week. I hope that went well to get that racetrack opened again. His key to success is to focus and double check. Please join me in welcoming Ed Kemper, our featured speaker today.
Jim, I sent you some things to display. Do you have those?
No, I don't. I did not see that email. Hold on.
That's fine. If not, we'll move ahead. So what I wanted to talk about was civil cases as opposed to criminal cases in the state system. That is excluding federal court, which I talked about briefly. And I'm also talking about the locations of those various courts on Oahu. So we're going to start with district court. That's the one of the courts that has the lowest jurisdictional amounts in civil cases. And it has various locations on Oahu. There's one downtown on Alakea, which is the one that most of the lawyers end up going to, although by Zoom these days. But there's one in Kaneohe, which is a very nice district court. There's one in Wahiwa, which is in an old shopping mall, not even a mall, a shopping building, which is not the best in the world. And then there's one, the Waianae court used to be in a similar situation, but it then moved to the new family court building out of Campbell Industrial Park, and it's very nice there. And then there's a Kaneohe, I mentioned the Kaneohe one. So there's various locations for these district court because these are matters where a lot of people file their own claims, particularly under what we call small claims matters. Those are cases under $5,000 of damages. And many non-lawyers will file these claims. And in order to file the claim, you can go to the court website, and there are forms that you fill out, filing a small claim, and then there's a filing fee, and then you send it in, and then your case, you serve it by mail or otherwise to the other party, and then you go to court. And right then and there, the court will hear the testimony of both parties, if the other party appears, and make a rendering. Many times the court will refer it to mediation because there's a mediator there at the courthouse who will sit down with the parties and see if they can work it out before the actual trial. So that takes care of a lot of the lesser cases, and no lawyers are needed in those matters in any case. The rest of the civil cases in district court, your cap for damages is $40,000. There has been an effort to raise that cap. I'm on a committee that among judges and lawyers, and we suggested a couple of years ago that that cap be raised, but the legislature did not permit it, or did not even have hearings on it, as it turned out. So currently it's $40,000. These are, again, civil cases where no jury demand has been asked. The rule is on jury demands, if there's more than $5,000 in dispute, a jury demand can be made by either party, and it goes to the circuit court. And I'll talk about circuit court in a little bit. So assuming that there's no jury demand, the trial date in a district court case is set relatively quickly. The procedures that you have to go through to have trials in the district court are infinitely less than circuit court. You have to exchange exhibits 10 days before the trial. You have to send the exhibits to the court and to the other party. Usually the trials, depending on the difficulty of the matter, can be handled in a half a day or maybe a day. You put on your evidence, the court issues a decision, maybe not there right then, but will issue a decision relatively quickly. Obviously, if you don't like that decision, you can appeal it. Although that's a very time-consuming and expensive process, and most appeals are not successful, as one could imagine. Otherwise, the appellate court would be overwhelmed. But appellate court's a different matter. One type of case that goes into district court, no matter the amount of the dispute, is landlord and tenant. It's called summary possession. It's a speeded up process. It essentially says if you haven't paid the rent, the court is going to have you removed. And this is for obvious reasons. Now, of course, COVID has changed all of that because there are now prohibitions announced by the governor that do not permit the actual eviction to occur at this point. On the theory that government supplements for rental income will help people out and help the landlords out because obviously they have expenses to take care of as well. Once that gets lifted, there's going to be a massive number potentially of eviction cases that have to be heard by the various district courts. So we'll see. And right now, the district court is also backed up with all kinds of other claims, which sort of overwhelmed it, given the COVID situation. So that's it for district court. Circuit court is a different deal entirely. It has one location on Oahu, and that is, and this is non-family court matters, that's a different deal in the civil cases, is on Punchbowl Street. And these are for damage cases over $40,000 or a jury case where someone has demanded a jury. There are multiple steps that you have to go through in order to go to trial in circuit court. There's various pleadings that have to be filed, pre-trial statements, responding pre-trial statements, all kinds of lists and other documents that have to be filed with the court in order to ultimately get to that court's trial. In a non-jury trial, obviously it will be faster because you don't have to embank a jury. That is, they bring a whole slew of jurors down there. They bring them up, you get to question them. You then see which ones go into the jury box. And then you can disqualify some of them automatically without any reason. And then once 12 jurors plus 2 alternates are set, the trial begins. You have opening statements by both sides. And then you present your witnesses. The plaintiff presents their witnesses. The defendant presents their witnesses. Many times there's lots of exhibits to present to the jury. And there's rebuttal testimony after the defendant has testimony. And then you submit to the judge proposed jury instructions. That is, telling the jurors what the law is that they have to apply to the facts. They are the finders of the facts. And they make a determination whether the plaintiff should win or lose. And if so, if they win, how much damages are going to be imposed. Many juries do this quickly, sometimes take more time depending on the nature of the case. So once it's rendered, a jury is rendered, you can move to set aside the jury verdict. Very unlikely that that's going to happen. If you aren't successful, you have a right to appeal. Now, there was this beautiful article in the Hawaii Bar Journal, which I and other lawyers wrote, about the other things that circuit courts do. The Hawaii Bar Journal is not a guide to bars in Oahu. It's about a document that goes to lawyers, just in case you were confused. So you can file agency appeals at the circuit court when you're an administrative agency and you don't like it, like the DCCA. You can file a mechanics liens notice. Mechanics liens are where somebody constructs improvements on real property and haven't been paid, so they can file and get a lien on the property. It also has tax court jurisdiction. That is, there's some sort of tax issue that's been decided elsewhere, and you decide what to do ultimately in the circuit court. There are arbitration appeals. If you've been in an arbitration proceeding and you didn't like the result, you can appeal that to the circuit court, although appeals are very limited in their nature. There's also the land court. That's a very special system of land titles in this state. And if you have a dispute about that, you can go to the land court, and there's one judge assigned solely to those types of disputes. And land court can be very, very difficult because it has very special features that protect you a lot, but also very difficult rules to follow in order to get those special features. If you don't like it at either court, you can appeal it. It'll go to the Intermediate Court of Appeals, which has 6 judges. They sit in panels of 3. They make a decision, affirm or deny. If you don't like that, you can go to the Hawaii Supreme Court, but you have to do that by petition, which the court may or may not accept. Very few cases get to the Hawaii Supreme Court. They have 5 justices, and then they make a decision, and that's the end of it, unless you can get to the federal court system, but good luck on that. So that's about it.
Thanks,
Any
Ed.
questions?
Yes, does anyone have any questions? No?
Ed, I have a question for you, actually. I noticed that because I had to go for a case regarding my car accident from a few weeks ago, that they started putting everything on Zoom now.
Yes.
So the interesting thing is that I'm not sure if there's an actual way of that people are supposed to be notified of that, or are we just all supposed to understand that that's what it is, or is there some place we're supposed to look it up and know what Zoom meeting to go to? Because I wasn't notified. I found out by going down there and finding out that it was on Zoom.
Yeah, you can go to the court website, and you can look it up on eKakua, which will give you the information about the case number. And then you can go on the court website and see what Zoom meeting numbers it is. And then you can go on that. But right now, all preliminary matters are on Zoom. Jury trials are probably the only thing that's not Zoomed these days. You should have gotten notification, though, because if another party was the initiator, they should have notified you of the hearing. And if you filed it, they should have notified you by email.
No, I didn't receive anything. It was a matter of me doing something that I really shouldn't have done. Is the particular police officer did not accept a electronic version of my insurance card. He said that I had to have a paper version, period, end of story. So he gave me a citation for that. So I had to go to court and prove that I actually had insurance.
I don't know about traffic cases so much because those are criminal matters that I just normally deal with. Any other questions? Now you can all take the bar examination and become lawyers just from that just little 10-minute presentation. And then you'll get this lovely bar guide in the mail.